Hey, I'm Akshay Ruparelia, I'm 23 and I'm a young entrepreneur. I started my business journey very young actually, so I was always quite engaged in kind of trading and understanding how business works. So I first started actually selling sweets at school, believe it or not, as most of these stories start. So when I was 13, my parents couldn't afford couldn't afford to buy me a PlayStation. So I was one of the only people in my year group without a PlayStation. So I went out of my way, borrowed £50 from a cousin of mine, borrowed a wholesale membership from my uncle, who ran a hotel at the time, put the two together, bought wholesale sweets and made enough for my PlayStation in about 2 weeks. But over time, kind of engaged in different things and understood a bit more about disruption. And that eventually led me on to my property business, which I started the first version of at 16, which evolved into Doorsteps, the online estate agency, at about 17 years old. So Doorsteps was an online estate agency business, charging only £99 to sell a property. The main goal of the business was to try and disrupt the archaic and old school ways of estate agency. The reputation was very poor and the commissions were far too high, so this was my way of trying to change that. So having started Doorsteps at 17 years old, it was very early for me and it was an opportunity for me to really learn how business works, recruiting people and scaling an operation. So we scaled to the third largest online agency, sold over £1 billion worth of homes and became 5-star rated on Trustpilot. But since then I had the opportunity, thankfully, to pivot into different spaces that I was very passionate about. One of them being a social enterprise, where we support unemployed people into work, and one of them being a blockchain business where we focus on building the future of the internet. But all of those were made possible because of my initial experience and making the mistakes that I made and learning from them in scaling my first business. So my initial business area that I specialised in was in property with my online estate agency business. But having pivoted into a couple of different spaces, including a social enterprise and a blockchain business, I realised that my passion is really about building, and the process of building a startup and entrepreneurship is what I'm most passionate about. Working with great people, developing teams, and scaling businesses with a bigger focus on disruption and a bigger focus on changing the way an industry is perceived. So with estate agency, it was using technology to change the way estate agency works and reduce the cost. For the social enterprise, it was focused on being a young person in the space to help other young people. And with the blockchain business, it's about bridging the gap between Web 2 and Web 3 to change the nature of and usage of the blockchain industry. So what drives me as a whole is largely driven by gratitude around the position I'm in. And that's because I know that my parents, for example, have not only being migrants into the country, so my dad was born in East Africa, the limited opportunities they had as both being completely deaf, and me being a young carer to them has presented me with a lot of opportunities that I didn't think I would get otherwise. And the ability to mature at an earlier stage, take on responsibility and support them. So my goal is to try and give back as much as I can, not just to my family, but also to the wider community. Because I know there's people out there that are in similar positions, whether it's a young carer or children of immigrants or otherwise, that have the opportunity now being here and being grateful for that and trying to take that forward to make a disproportionate impact. So my top 3 pieces of advice for someone starting their own business, firstly is to contextualize your fears. Think about it. What is the worst that can happen? And if that's not too bad, it gives you an opportunity to have a shot. Second one is to test cheap. Best thing is to do is to test cheap rather than building something for a market if there's no market need for it. So my third piece of advice for someone starting a business is to not label yourself. Remember, if you failed, like most business leaders have or most successful entrepreneurs have, you are not a failure. You can build resilience and understanding from the fact that you're not a failure and you're labeling the situation rather than you as an individual. So personally, I feel that having started the business at 17 has given me a really strong foundation in terms of learning and experience. So now my future plans will incorporate potentially starting to build a family and also gaining more cultural experience, traveling the world and meeting new people, which I can incorporate into my long-term journey as well. So other activities that I do that are close to my heart include philanthropy and charity work, one of which I've been given the opportunity to be a part of the Prince's Trust Rise campaign as a board member. I'm very grateful to be able to do that at such a young age and shape the direction of young people and their support, but also the Royal Deaf Association, which again is important to me because I'm a young carer to my parents, both of whom are deaf, and increasing awareness in deaf society is super, super personal for me. My partnership with Champions allows myself and other like-minded entrepreneurs to network and collaborate, as well as a fantastic platform for us to support and impart our wisdom to other clients out there, including educational institutions and businesses, as well as a great personalised service from the team to create the perfect matchmaking of support.